Welcome to this Bible study on the book of Ruth. This is chapter 4. So we'll continue with chapter 4. So in verses 1 to 2, then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. So essentially, as we can see, Boaz stopped the nearer kinsman as he passed by the gate. Then he got 10 elders, and this would typify the law, meaning the 10 commandments. So you might say that's a bit of a leap there, but there's often symbolism in the things that God puts in his word. And one of the things that you think of when you see 10 is the 10 commandments. We'll better understand that when we understand what these elders are doing at the gate. So a little side study, the city gate. The city gate is an indirect reference to its government. Those that sat at the gate decided legal matters. Some examples. Genesis 19, verse 1, And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Now, you might not think Lot's in the government there, but we'll see the other verses that talk about that. But you can see that Lot sat in the gate when these angels arrived. Deuteronomy 21, verse 19. Then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of his city, and unto the gate of his place. So this is about disciplining a son, and they're going to bring him to the elders of the city, in particular the ones that are at the gate, not just any old people. Deuteronomy 22, verse 15. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. So again, that's the concept here. You may be able to find more of these, but that's the idea. The gate is a symbolic reference to the government of the city. That's where these people would meet. I guess they didn't have a building, a government building. 2 Samuel 15, verse 2, And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so, that when any man that had a controversy came to the king for judgment, then Absalom called unto him and said, Of what city art thou? And he said, Thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel. So again, at the beginning of the verse there, you have him standing at the way of the gate. This is where they would expect an official to be. Now Jacob saw this in a dream, Genesis 28, verses 16 to 17. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place! There is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So I've heard somebody actually teach this is a portal that'll take you to heaven. It's like a science fiction wormhole. That's not what this gate is. The gate of heaven, the things of heaven are going to be ruled from the earth. And of course, where he is where Christ is going to rule from during the millennium. The heavens are going to be ruled from the earth. So at least that's my understanding of what this passage is about. So Jesus will govern the heavens from the earth at the place where Jacob had the dream. Even have a reference, Jesus references this in the book of John. So back to Ruth. Let's go to verses 3 to 8. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things, A man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. So, of course, we're a little thrown off by the whole aspect of the shoe here, but this nearer kinsman says he can redeem the land, but he cannot redeem Ruth. So he's declining it, even the land, because of the aspect of Ruth. And so the shoe is removed, and we'll understand that here in a minute. So, as I said, the petition to the near kinsman is to buy back the land. So Boaz only tells him that part first, and he wants that. So this would restore the inheritance back to Elimelech's family. The land would remain in the family, although it would belong to someone else. If he could not or would not, Boaz could and would, and that would still keep it in Elimelech's family. So let's understand redeeming the land. The law had elements concerning selling and redeeming land. Leviticus 25, 23 to 28. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the land of your possession ye shall grant a redemption for the land. If thy brother be waxen poor and hath sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. And if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus to the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. And if he be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that hath bought it until the year of Jubilee, and in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. So I certainly don't understand all that. Israel did. I'm not sure what Elimelech did with his land when they left, but they're evidently needing to buy it back or redeem it, as it would say. So this verse seems to apply, and I'll say these elders knew how to handle this. So let's go back to Ruth, verse 5. So Boaz brings up the detail concerning Ruth. So restoration of the inheritance comes through an heir. Elimelech had sons who had no children. So Elimelech's line is going to end if something isn't done. So this would be accomplished through levirate marriage. And we discussed this in chapter 1. So in verse 6, but the near kinsman is not willing. It would mar his inheritance. Now, I'm not quite sure what the circumstances are here. I don't know if he doesn't have a child or he only has a daughter. I don't get it, but it's certainly something Israel understood better, and this is meant to be clearer to them than us. So I'll ask, is this why? So that this is a potential explanation. Deuteronomy 23, verses 3 to 4. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when you came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. So because of what the Moabites and Ammonites have done in Israel's past, God has put a curse on them for at least 10 generations. So I'm going to guess if this man has a child through Ruth, and that child really becomes in the line of Elimelech, other children that he might have are going to be cursed from the congregation. I don't know if that's the answer or not, but it certainly seems to be a problem. So let's see an aspect of who these two kinsmen are, Boaz versus this other man, and it may be an application of law versus grace. So we have this little side study here about this. The two kinsmen represent law and grace. The law had elements of redemption, but also limitations. The law was meant to reveal sin, not fix it. Galatians 3, verse 24, wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Grace can do what the law cannot. So the law will reveal sin, but can't forgive you and redeem you and other things. Now, there was redemption in the law, but again, it had limitations and things that had to be done. But grace goes far beyond that. So under the law, David committed adultery and murder. David was not stoned for either, because he had a glimpse of this grace. So in 2 Samuel 12, verse 13, and David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also hath put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. So David experienced forgiveness for his sin that under the law could not be forgiven. He had to die for two things, adultery and murder. Both are forgiven. And I'll say this is grace poking through the obscurity of the law, which the law did not allow, but grace could. So I think you're going to see that Boaz is a type of grace, and this other Redeemer is a type of law, and he is unwilling because of what the law says. Psalms 32, verse 1 to 2, Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, in whose spirit there is no guile. So this is essentially David referring back to this situation. Romans 4, verses 6 to 8, so the same thing. Even as David also described the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works, saying, Blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. So Jesus brought this grace, John 1, verse 17. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. So there certainly was some grace in the Old Testament, but it is severely veiled by the law, and we see a witness of it here and there, but not the manifestation that we see today. Even during Jesus's ministry was that grace not fully come. He brought the truth and grace, but it's fully manifest through Paul. But nonetheless, let's go back to what's in Ruth. So this kinsman's children would be barred from the congregation. That might be the reason why he declines. And perhaps he had no children already. But by the law, if he were to have children with Ruth, they would be barred from the congregation for 10 generations. That's a long time. But maybe Boaz sees it through grace. But anyway, this man he had to take off his shoe. This is what the law called for. So let's see in a little side study what's up with the shoe. So some interesting passages involve shoes. Exodus 3, verses 4 to 5, and when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Now, what people want to conclude is, we'll see Moses is unclean, he's a sinner, he can't stand on the holy ground, so he's going to take off his shoes, and yet his feet evidently are clean. No, they're not. They're just as filthy as the sandals that he has on. And he's the sinner, not his shoes. So this can't mean what people teach it as. It probably means what we're going to be learning here. You're going to take off your shoes because you're not worthy to redeem. Joshua 5, verse 15, and the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. So you don't get the meaning from these two passages. It's when you go and study what Ruth is teaching that you get a better understanding of what the shoe means. Now, it could be that there's two meanings involving the shoes, but let me know if you find it. So as I said, many teach that this is about having dirty shoes, but are the feet in the sandals clean? No, they're not. Mark 1, verse 7, and preach, saying, There cometh one mightier than I after me, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to stoop down and unloose. So surely John is not an inept person who can't unloose a shoe. There's something significant about this, and it has to do with being worthy to redeem. So, as I said, surely John could unlatch Jesus' shoe, but that's not what it's about. Now recall this from chapter 1 concerning levirate marriage. Deuteronomy 25, verse 10, and his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. If you couldn't perform the job of the levirate marriage, then you would have to do this. You'd have to take your shoe off. So that's what this man does. So Joshua and Mark had similar language, having the shoe loosed. So perhaps it means this: neither Moses nor Joshua were able to redeem their brethren. John the Baptist could not either. So if you don't like that, then try to find a better explanation for these passages using scripture, but I think this may be it. Only Jesus could do what these other men could not. Now recall this, Psalms 108, verse 9, we saw this before. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Over Philistia will I triumph. So basically, this is saying that God is not willing to redeem Edom. And you got to go and understand the sins that the Edomites have committed and why God is saying something so strong here. So something to ponder. Really gets us away from the story of Ruth. Now let's see verses 9 through 12. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So, verses 9 and 10, Boaz was not deterred by the limitations of the law. He committed to giving Ruth a son who could continue the inheritance. He declared this before the elders at the gate. So this is making an official legal decision, a judgment, and all that were present could witness to. Verse 10 is the one that tells us that Mahlon married Ruth. So Chilion married Orpah. But Mahlon, evidently the oldest, is going to carry the name of Elimelech. Verse 11, prophecy declaring exaltation to the level of Rachel and Leah. So Ruth got a book named after her. So you can go dive into what else that might mean, but that's essentially what we have happening here. And she is in the lineage of Jesus. If you go and look at Matthew chapter 1, you have the lineage to Christ, but in verse 5 it says, And Solomon begat Booz of Rachab, and Booz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse. So Ruth is mentioned here. You also have other women mentioned in the lineage of Christ, so it's pretty interesting. Rachab or Rahab being another. Also in verse 11, so be famous in Bethlehem. Micah 5 verse 2, but thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth have been from of old, from everlasting. So, of course, David comes out of Bethlehem, and Jesus will as well. So the shepherds in the field in Luke 2, 8 to 20 went to Bethlehem. Now, were they in Boaz's field? It doesn't tell us where they were, but quite interesting. Perhaps that it is true, but the scripture doesn't really tell us that. So verse 12 mentions Pharez and Tamar, and we'll investigate those two after the last passage. So we're going to postpone that. So let's look at verses 13 to 17. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born of Naomi, and they called his name Obed, and he is the father of Jesse, the father of David. So in verse 13, Ruth has been exalted to a wife of a righteous man. She went from a foreigner to a poor gleaner to a maidservant. And as a foreigner, she had really no hope in Israel, but she marries into Israel, really the the two brothers or the sons of Elimelech should not have been marrying Gentiles. And she had a child, which is the pinnacle of this story. In verses 14 to 16, you have blessed be the Lord. You have a praise here. I don't really have anything else to say, but it kind of speaks for itself. I don't think there's anything deep here. Verse 17, the lineage tells us the book is written much later. You have mention of Jesse, the father of David. Well, that had to happen much later. So let's see this genealogy to David, which has been added to the end of the book in verses 18 to 22. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. Okay, it's interesting that this genealogy is even here. And it starts with Pharez and it goes to David. So why is this in the book of Ruth at the time of the judges? So it says two things. The first chastisement is over and a reprieve has come. So the book of Judges is a period of chastisement, and the end of this book is, in a sense, highlighting that it's over, and it had to be written later. So the chastisement was over. And a reprieve has come, and that reprieve is coming through David and through Solomon. But of course, Solomon isn't the focus yet. It also says that God's choice for a king is coming. And many people believe that Samuel wrote Ruth, and he would have written it much later after the events, leading up to David being at least anointed, if not becoming king. So kind of all this stuff has already transpired. But as they read Ruth, I think they would be able to say, well, God had a plan. Too bad we weren't, trusting him, but not sure. Now, verse 12 and verse 18 talk about Pharez. So let's investigate Pharez. So in a little side study here, we have Judah, Tamar, and what is called the bastard curse. So Genesis 38 tells the story of Judah and Tamar. You have to go read that. I'm not going to get into it. It's a long story, but there's a lot of information in it that's important. Judah had 3 sons by a Canaanite woman. So again, you got a Jew marrying a Gentile. Shouldn't be doing that. The descendants of Abraham were not supposed to marry a Canaanite. The 3 sons were Onan, and Shelah. Married Tamar, but God killed him for wickedness. Onan married Tamar, according to the custom, which is levirate marriage, but he refused to provide an heir, so God killed him. Judah did not let Shelah marry Tamar, supposing she's a curse. So he's not doing what the levirate marriage custom calls for. So Judah has a child with Tamar through her trickery. He doesn't know that that's going to happen, but that's what ends up happening. And notice his ignorant judgment of her. Genesis 38, verse 24. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth and let her be burnt. So he doesn't know this is the woman that he's had sexual relationship with, and just wants to burn her. He knows who she is in terms of being married to his sons, but what an awful choice to make here, and obviously it doesn't happen. But so Tamar had 2 children by Judah, Pharez and Zerah. Pharez means breach because the agreement was breached. She should have married Shelah, and Judah did not keep the custom or the word. Let's note Judah's sons. Genesis 46, verse 12. And the sons of Judah, and Onan, and Shelah, and Pharez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Pharez were Hezron and Hamul. So that's what Genesis tells you as it's going along, giving the genealogy of many people. So his first 3 sons had no children, Onan, and Shelah. I'm guessing Shelah never married and had no sons. The Bible doesn't really tell us. But he would have carried the, I would expect he would have carried the line of Judah being older than Pharez and Zerah. Now, an interesting prophecy about Judah. Genesis 49, 9-10. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So the promised seed would come through Judah. The one promised to reign as a king is going to come through Judah, and yet Judah has this lineage problem. So obviously at the time of Judah doing these things, Israel did not have the law. I'll say the people in Genesis operated off maybe an oral law and tradition, but Israel has the written law much later. And this says in Deuteronomy 23, verse 2, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to a 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So as you look at the genealogy in Ruth, if this verse applied, then the line was cursed until the 10th generation, and that would be David. It may be that's why this is given here, to show that that curse is over as well. So 1 Samuel 8 demonstrates that Israel wants a king early. They're asking to be like the other nations, to have a king, and it's not God's time. God gave them Saul, who wasn't from the tribe of Judah. He's not fulfilling the prophecy. This was Satan's attempt to disrupt the promised seed. Of course, Saul isn't obedient, and God has to, in a sense, take the kingdom from him and get rid of him to open the door back up to what his plan was originally, at least so I assume. So eventually David reigned. So let's see another side study about Ruth and the Moabite curse. Deuteronomy 23, verse 3-4, we saw this. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when you came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. So how could Obed, Jesse, and David be in the congregation? And I'll say, does this apply? Romans 9, verse 14-15. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So is that the answer? I don't know. Would God respect one curse and have mercy on the other? And I don't know the answer to this. Is it the line cursed from Pharez to David, yet it's not cursed at this stage, just before David, just a couple generations before? I don't know. So perhaps the promise of blessing is greater than the power of the curse. So I hope you enjoyed the book of Ruth. There are a few tough things in there, but hopefully you learned about much of what the story was about and how the doctrine is communicated to Israel concerning redemption and many other facets of the law and the Redeemer to come, David, and then eventually Jesus Christ himself, who will accomplish it all. Thank you.